Hello, hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hi, my name is Justin Harris. Welcome to Monday Musings. I am going to get right into it and I'm going to talk about the marathon and maybe we can, you know, wifey said she wanted a mustache. So um, we're going to talk about the marathon. We're going to talk about hot takes. I've had 4 people run London, a person in Boston. I had countless people in the majors last year. I think 9 in Chicago, 2 in New York, 2 in Berlin, 1 in London, 2 in Boston. So quite a few. All right. And I'm going to talk about my concept or ideas around the marathon and what's unique to how I perceive it. I'm going to talk about my most common objections. And I'm going to talk about uh, some of the big mistakes that people make. Okay. So if you want to run the marathon correctly, if you want to get a big PR, listen up. All right. So my perception about the marathon, everyone talks about volume. Strava did a study, I think, from Chicago 2024, something like that. It was a great day. A lot of people qualified. And they basically did a data analysis of who's qualifying for Boston and what is their training like. And I remember what stood out to me was that people who qualified for Boston tended to run more miles. Okay, so that's not too revolutionary. They tended to have more easier runs compared to where their race pace was, which is a little bit counterintuitive at times. But if you're running more, it has to be easier, right? And so my take on it is that if you're a professional and you have a lot of time, then mileage is the answer. But because most of the people I coach are full schedule athletes, big time jobs, family, kids, other interests, right? They don't have a lot of time to recover in order to absorb a lot of training. So I take the density approach. So density is the product of frequency. How many times a week are we training? Volume or duration, how far or long are we going for, and intensity, how intense are we going? And I find that most people mess up the intensity, even though I do more intensity. Okay, so for Team Whoopers, we're rolling out a group coaching thing, and I was trying to look at my templates and then how I would run this with someone who is not going to have one-on-one coaching. And so the key thing for me was that my athletes tend to do less volume. All right. So why do they do less volume? I believe in a day off a week in order to absorb training. Okay. That is paramount and that is key. I also use one bike day to unload the musculoskeletal system. So muscles, tendons, joints, unload the pounding, and to basically get a nice flush of um, fresh blood in, right? To flush things out. Okay, so right there, take away 2 days. Okay, so if you take away 2 days, that's 5 days. So when I'm doing 35 to 45 miles a week, it's in 5 days. And so I tell my clients, well, I'll get into my objections. So I look at what can we do in 5 days, and we have 3 quality days. So we do a VO2 max day, we do a threshold day, and we do a long run. And then the rest of the days are aerobic. And so that's my strategy. All right. I create a system, and depending on the block, we have different focal points. All right. Nothing unique, to most coaches here. But again, I don't have people running 6 days a week generally. They have an off day and a bike day, and that gets a lot of people to the start line healthy and feeling frisky and minimizing problems. So in all my marathon coaching, which has to be, I think I'm at like 20, let's say 15 to 20 marathons a year participated in for 5 years. And then I coached a few after that. So we're looking at like 100, let's just say 100 marathons. I've had 2 people have to miss their marathon because of injury. And then I have had a couple people. So one was a three femoral stress fracture. I told the person, I don't think we should run 22 miles. The hip's been bothering you. We should back off. It was early in my coaching career and I let it happen. And I was been coaching an athlete a long time. I was trusting them and it ended up being a femoral stress fracture in the head. So it took a long time. I was really bummed about that. Another time I had someone who had iron issues and menopause happening. And so hormones were all over the place and they were really wiped out, low iron, everything. And so we just said, hey, we're going to skip this one. And then I had, no, that's it. 2. Yeah. 2 missed marathons. Right. And then I've had a handful of other things. So I'm just saying like no coach bats 1,000, 10 for 10, things do pop up. I've had a handful of people, have to really kind of modify our focus and learn something from it. But most of my clients have had positive experiences. So London this past weekend, Matt broke 3 hours, which, for his training, I thought was appropriate. I had a lady who started with me. Her first marathon was New York City, 8.5 hours, walk jogger. Our first experience, hot, bunch of things. In Chicago last year, she ran 5:57, and this London, she ran 5:41. So dropping a ton of time. And then I had another athlete who a year and a half ago ran 3:23 in Berlin or Chicago, I think Chicago. And now they're down to 3:14. They went 3:18 in Boston. So a PR in Boston. And then last year, and then down to 3:14. So a bunch of different realms and spectrums. All right. So my common objections, let's talk about those. And so when I'm talking here, I want you to think about the objections that you have. All right. So I ask my athletes on their aerobic runs to stay in the green heart rate zone on their watch and under, no matter if it's hilly, no matter if it's hot, no matter if it's windy. So that's a massive objection. I get like, I don't know, maybe they're still on here and they can comment if they so please. But new clients tend to be like, I don't feel like we're running as many long runs as most training plans. I feel as if I'm not rehearsing marathon pace. I'm like never running it. And I'm running so slow on these aerobic runs due to a lack of aerobic efficiency, which the marathon is about aerobic efficiency, that it makes people super nervous. But I've been doing it long enough and I've gotten results. And I constantly get that people, I'll get into the good stuff. So anyway, objection is not enough marathon pace, not enough long runs, too short of a long run. I only go up to 20. I don't like 22. And that the aerobic runs are really slow. No one complains about the VO2 max. They like that. No one complains about the threshold. They like that stuff. Progression runs can be a little bit challenging how I run them, but a little more loosey-goosey, a little less structured. And so those are the common objections I get. And the good things that happen at the end of it is people, I get comments like from London, someone who's 53 years old. They ran within a minute of what they did pre-kid and about 10 years ago. And they ran better by 2 minutes than they did last year. And they were super patient. But they said, I never thought I could feel that good at the end of a marathon. And I've heard that so many times. All right. The other thing I would say is that people say they feel less beat up going into the race, which is fantastic. That's the goal. And a subtle thing is that people say they feel less beat up after and can return back to feeling good quicker, which is still takes like a month to 6 weeks after a marathon. So anyway, those are some of my hot takes on the marathon. And so what I think people get wrong with the marathon is they are a slave to the mileage. It's mileage, 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 and they're not listening to their body, and therefore they don't absorb the training that they're actually doing. And the next biggest mistake is people run through little hiccups or illnesses because they don't want to miss a long run or something like that. And they end up digging themselves into a pretty deep trench that lasts for weeks if not the rest of the build. And I've seen it so many times. I fight my clients like, you're taking off, back off. We back off for 3 days. We'll be able to get back to training in 7 days total. Whereas if you just keep lingering on, it's going to be 2-3 weeks that we're going to feel like me. All right. So don't do it. So people get to the start line hobbling. And when we talk about these majors, like, this is thousands of dollars of an expense and experience and a commitment, especially if you get coaching, which ain't cheap. All right. So they have this pressure to perform. All right. Which leads me to my last big problem that I see people do is they arbitrarily pick PRs and they want to PR like an arbitrary goal. And I say arbitrary and I really challenge it because I deal with it a lot of time. I'm like, what is backing that? I ask my clients what their goals are. And it's like, well, it's faster than this. Well, like the most egregious place is for Boston because people ran a flat course to qualify for Boston. And now they're running, Boston's slower. But now they want to run faster than they've ever run on a flat course, on a hilly course, and a challenging course. And I digress. They send out on a suicide mission. The last thing, and maybe I said last already, but it's 9:00 at night, forgive me, is that people they put too much pressure to PR and then they don't problem solve through the race. They go out on a suicide mission, YOLO, do the cross, here we go, Allah, take me to the line. And it just ends up being a crazy path towards a strategy that brings very little success. And then what's the conclusion when people go out really hard and they're trying to go for a big PR and they don't get it and they blow up and they feel like shit at the end? Oh, I didn't train hard enough. And it's like this recursive death loop of they overtrained, they didn't have the right strategy, well, not overtrained, but maybe they trained really hard, didn't absorb the training, always felt tired all the time, picked a really hard goal, had the wrong strategy, didn't adjust the tactics, and then raced poorly. And so therefore I got to train harder. And this just goes into this recursive thing. And then that's when I get the clients. And even though they know it's not working, they fight me tooth and nail for 16 weeks. And I put my foot down and I say, this works. If you don't want to have a dynamic training plan, and if you don't want someone with experience that you're paying to make decisions and help problem solve things with you, then go buy a $50 plan and follow to the T and have a worse performance. And I actually say that to people in that same tone. I'm not mean about it, but just there's a reason why there are coaches that get results. All right. And you really should find those coaches and then you should trust them, not wholeheartedly in the sense of yes, coach, I say jump and you say how high. That's not how it works. That's not the relationship. It's about having dialogue, communication, vulnerability, trust, all those things. So I'm not trying to here pat myself on the back and brag. I'm just showing the results of people across multiple major marathons and across multiple different platforms, multiple different abilities, a wide range and skill level, but not a wide range in commitment and engagement. They're all the same. They all want to do well. They all want to believe in what I'm doing. And sometimes it takes one race to get them there. So I'm curious about, in your racing, it doesn't necessarily have to be a marathon, but what are some big objections or things that you struggle with when you're following a training plan? And if you have run a marathon, have you finished feeling strong and PR? Have you left it all out on the course? Do you get into a death loop of feeling like you need to train harder? Because most of my clients, I have to pull the reins back on them. And then we get a 6-minute PR, a 4-minute PR, a 10-minute PR. And then over several years, a couple years of this, then that's when I get back on the gas pedal. So I have to retrain, recalibrate, break down confirmation bias, and get people to retrust their body and listen to what's going on. So anyway, curious to what you guys are thinking. I'm drinking a nice little Gewürztraminer from Kuka Springs up in the Finger Lakes. Delicious. So if any of my clients on here, which I see some of you guys, or people who experience me in group coaching, what have been some of your big takeaways? And, you can call yourself out here, Facebook and YouTube. What's up? Yeah, I'm here to chat for a little bit. What's up, Mariana? What's up, Joanne? What's up, Karina? What's up, Callan? Karen, how you doing? Hi, Amy. I think you're new here. What's up, Billy? I'll see you tomorrow. Justin. You're all right, hon. You can walk. What's up, Sanjita? Hi, Michelle Franks. Christy, what's up? So I'm curious. I was talking about the marathon, some of my hot takes. If you didn't catch it, you can watch it. It's about 15 minutes long. But curious to, what's up, Karina? I'm curious to what some of my clients, if you've been here, big takeaways and what has been a concept maybe that was easy to get or something that was really hard to embrace. It's really hard to go through my training sometimes when we're on Instagram and looking at what everyone else is doing and the volume, but I can't tell you. I mean, like I say this, but it's not an exaggeration. I mean, I can't count on two hands when people would be like, hey, this person's doing this on Strava, my friend, blah, blah, blah. They're doing the high volume and I'm not. And I feel like concerned. Comparison's the thief of joy, right? And then I'm like, we'll see how they do. And then my client PRs. And then I said, how'd that athlete do? And they're like, not good. So, El Gato Cansano. What's up, Roberto? I'm all in on the concept of minimal effective dose. It served me well. Yeah. Minimal effective dose. So not most clients hear minimal. They're like freak out. They're like, well, minimal and whatever, right? But it's effective, right? If 200 milligrams of Tylenol is going to get the job done, we don't need to take 1,000. So Mariana, with cross training, sometimes my athletes and even I can't follow the schedule. What are the ways you adapt as a coach to athletes who can't follow the plan? All right, this is a great question. I'm going to say, what are the constraints? All right. And Mariana, like feel free to like chime in as I'm answering and just give me a little bit more specifics. But what do you mean by like you can't follow the plan? Like running is a priority. So like if you miss a day and that's a cross training day, like you're gonna make it up with running, or do you just miss cross training for whatever reason and then you just get back on schedule on the running, which I don't think is too bad. So I'm curious a little bit more like precision on the question. But I'll say this is in the structure, when you have structure, it allows us to really figure out what we need to do, right? And so essentially, if Mondays are VO2 max and Thursdays are threshold and Saturdays are long runs, right? If for some reason something pops up, so I've had people like a little Achilles tightness or something. So instead of like slamming them in VO2 max, like quarter repeats or long hills or something like that, that's going to really challenge the arch of the foot, the Achilles, calf complex, all that stuff. Sometimes I'll put them on the bike and it's like, look, like out of our priority list, like cross training, VO2 max is on the lower side of things that are important, right? But I'm going to put you on the bike. Let's like get through this, make sure it's no issue instead of like, oh, I want to try it out. And it's like, well, then we get out of the workout and we have an issue, right? A bigger issue afterwards. So, okay. Oh, okay. Mariana. So athletes want to do a live class on another discipline. Okay. Yes. I get this, or even I have to switch my long run if I have to teach a 60-minute the night before, so as to shift the schedule of when important workouts happen. Okay. So this is a beautiful question. And I got some stackers here. All right. I got some people, I give them a 2-hour long, like an hour and a half long run. They're taking 7 classes to get all those dots. And sometimes it could be hard to follow. But yes, I get this. My clients like I kind of say this. What is the priority, right? Is the priority to like go see like do a live class and miss out? Like how important is it to PR or to perform? And sometimes we have to make some compromises, right? But I always tell my athletes, and they always say like, I'll do whatever it takes to PR. Okay, great. Now, we don't have to live in an authoritarian regime, right? And we can go and enjoy things that we want. It just has to fit. Okay. So sometimes athletes, like when we're in a training build, will ask for stuff and I'll say no, but keep asking, because if it fits in, I will put it in, because I'm doing the kind of like all the calculus, all the kind of what's correlated, what's volatile right now, what's going on, are we shifting regimes from one kind of system to the other or place? And I know that sounds complicated, but it's just like, it's kind of the Wizard of Oz pulling strings, right? So if it fits, I will say, yeah, let's do that. But we haven't biked in a while if we're running a marathon. So, be on the lower end of the zones and don't go too crazy. And it's like rejuvenating for people to be in a live class, see their favorite instructors, which Mariana, you and Matt are very high on my athletes list. I hear it all the time. So a little long-winded, but I'm trying to be thorough here, is what is the priority and what are the goals? Okay. And if it doesn't meet the goals, then we need to take a pause. If we take a pause, then I make sure to give people space in between races to like make sure we're bringing the rebalance the portfolio, make sure things are important. All right. Now, with regards to you, this is something I run into with Matt a little bit. His schedule seems to be pretty set in a certain way, but it goes, what's the priority? Okay. And to me, the structure of the schedule sometimes is a little bit better. And I know Coach Berry does a great job with you and whatnot. So it's not in juxtaposition to what he's doing. So for me, it's like in 3 weeks, like if we're running a marathon and you're missing the long run, like I might reorg things to make it happen, or I might get like break up a long run into 2 days to like kind of keep the density up, but not change it. So this is the art of it, is just kind of like, and it's all based on what the priorities are. All right. So, okay, Christy, I think understanding what is minimal for like Rob and what's minimal for me is different. And that's okay. Like you said, comparing where you're at with where someone else is just not helpful. Yes. So um, that is the bee's knees. Okay. Like in teaching, it's like least restrictive learning environment. So minimal effective dose, but like least restrictive learning environment. So like LRE for the teachers out there. So yes, for different strokes for different folks. Like some people, like I have a client right now who like 35 miles a week is like tops. Like that's all they can really handle. Even though some things improve, they don't feel great. Right. Where I have another client that if we're running 40 miles a week, they feel flat. Like they don't feel dynamic or nothing. And we got to do more volume. So it's figuring out people. And I don't do like hard assessments like max tests. I do some max tests here or there, but over getting to know a new client, a new athlete one-on-one is like, and even in group coaching, it's like kind of like trying to just be patient and be like, hey, let's pull the reins because it's risk reward, right? So sometimes I bite off a little bit more than I can chew in the first like week or two, but I can generally pick it up pretty quickly. But that's like knowing, yeah, like I've had some people like, hey, my friend so and so looks like me. We ran about the same times and now they're running like 20 minutes faster in a marathon. I don't understand what's going on. And it's like genetics, training age, like how many sports did they play over the years? Like did they lose weight? Like, like just because they're like similar to you in age doesn't mean it's there. So, Veronica. All right, Joanne. It's hard to change a training approach you had for a year. It takes a lot of communication, openness to try new ways to do things. I always thought I had to go faster so it feels easier on race day. Yeah. So, yeah, once you've done something once or a couple times and it even if it kind of worked, right? It becomes really skeptical to do something different. But I remember in high school, my freshman year of high school, somehow I got into business class with all the senior jocks, and I was a jock myself. But I remember my business teacher, who was the athletic director, Mr. Knickerbocker. He said, the first sentence he said, listen, in business and in life, change happens and change is good. Just get used to it. And then he went into something else. And I remember that. So you can always lose something. Rob, I feel equal parts seen and attacked. what as far as stacking, I didn't say anything. I didn't say names. Yeah, they're the best coaches. I Happy? Yeah, my mom's birthday's tomorrow. What's up, Justin? Mariana, also, I love that you do 20 miles tops for a marathon training. Do you agree with coach's program 24 plus for long runs? Okay. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So if you like see like 21, 22 on a program, I don't think that's like a bad coach or a bad program at all. Just in the way I do things, I have a fair amount of sneaky density, intensity. So when I go backwards and look like what someone ended up running, and then I go back in their long runs, like I do flat long runs, not just a flat easy pace. Like I actually have people progress. And so we do little portions at marathon pace. When we do progression runs, steady state run, like we're getting quite a bit of intensity. And when I look at someone's like the buckets of zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and heart rate, it's, we're stacking up the buckets. And so we get things in sneaky ways. I just find that it gets to be something that you also have to recover from. And I think that's where some people miss the mark. Like I run 20 miler and then the next week is like a pretty big recovery week. Like I think I do 13, sometimes 11 miles the weekend after. And people are like, that's a big cut in volume. I'm like, I need to make sure that you absorb that stimulus. And I also put it a little bit earlier so that I have time to recover from it. And it seems to work out. So yeah. But don't get me wrong. I've had several people do it, but they have to like kind of prove it to me over a long period of time that they can handle volume. And these are people that are running, like averaging 50 plus miles a week and maybe even hitting 70. So there, I feel like 22 is fine. Like they're running 10 a day. And again, we're doing this in five days. Sometimes I'll go to a 6-day running, but to like kind of manage the load. But yeah. Anyway, Karina, as your former athlete, I learned that running slower gives the best results in the long run. Just got to be patient and the results will come. I still do Garmin Green runs on Tuesday. Yay, Karina. Yeah, listen, I had some athletes leave me to go to a cheaper coaching system that also promised big results. And, the biggest objection I had was these slow aerobic runs, these slow runs, these easy runs. I'm like, they're not slow runs. Like, so much is happening there that sets up all the systems and all the floors above it, right? And I just said, I think, I didn't think it was a great idea, but obviously I'm biased. It wasn't like my wallet. All right. It was okay to lose some clients. But yeah, I just, like one client ended up coming back and I'll just speak about their experience a little bit. It was like, they're like, I knew in the first week that I didn't make the right decision because it was so hard and I was getting pushed every day. And they're in their 50s and they got promised like some big results and they end up like losing the joy of running. And yeah, we're in this for the long run. So I think everyone needs to like pull the accordion out and open their goals up, because when we're getting PRs like 3 years, 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I haven't had a client of 5 years, but I've gotten people results. Now, not everyone, right? Some people are a little tricky to figure out, but we get there. All right. It is tomorrow. I'm in good. Oh, Christy, is your birthday tomorrow? What's up, Shauna? Is your birthday April 29th? Because that's my. Oh, no. Tomorrow's the 28th. My mom's birthday's on Wednesday. Anyway, Mariana, the 20. I've had people run 16 or 18 miles and have a positive experience and run very well in the marathon. I don't recommend it, but it's just the constraints of their life, their job, their health. Sometimes it was like, look, we're just not going to force it. And that's the hardest thing to do as a coach, is to objectively show someone that what I perceive in my spidey senses, like my spidey coach senses, like the hair on my necks are telling me like I think we should not do this. But then you're risking confidence and different things. And so for me, I constantly tell people, we are not searching. We're not ego searching like 6 weeks out. Like we're just doing the work and let the work talk for it. We're not searching for ego. We're not listening to insecurities. We can talk about them. We can bring them up, but we're not using our training to hunt for those things. And we have to be careful. Oh, 428.80. It'd be really cool. We did this one time. Is what was the number one song on the day you were born? Let's see. Top song 04 28 1980. Let's see here. Top hot. Call Me, Blondie. There you go, Christy. That's funny. What is that? Let me see if I can hear the song. Oh, yeah. What's up, Andrew? Oh, Christy, this is such your song. I have to DJ this in to the next time we're at a marathon together. So, yeah, anyway, marathon is a beautiful event. And I'm going to be honest here and really transparent. I've run 2 marathons in my life. Actually, 3. 3. The first time I ran 26 miles or more, I ran 27 miles the week before I ran my first marathon. And I did ultra running. So it was a lot of walking in Hawaii with a bunch of guys. Like there was food stashed out. Like it was incredible. I was out there though for I think like 6 hours or something like that. We were out there a long time. Then the next week, and it's a year after I graduated college, or 6 months, like 6, 7 months. And then I ran Honolulu with a friend, which is very warm. And I was trying to pace him for sub 310. We were in our 20s. And so that was a Boston qualifier. And he drank a lot of alcohol when he was on his visit. And he laid out in the sun and got sunburned. So he cramped up. And I ran 258. I went 133. And then he's like, I'm cramping up. You can go. And I ran 125. And then the next time I ran the marathon was 4 years later for Ironman. And I ran 305 off the bike. And so I don't have a lot of experience running it, but just like when I coached, bobsled skeleton or speed and power athletes, like track and field athletes, like I didn't done a lot of those things. So I try to really like read the room and different stuff and see what the qualities are. So, and then my clients are super transparent. We debrief. I learn every time. So, oh, your birthday song. That's so cool. So anyways, it's, yeah, the marathon is a beautiful event. And we are in a marathon boom. There's a lot of noise out there with advice and different stuff like that. And I think at the end of the day, there are several different ways to approach the marathon. You can do it with volume. You can do it with a little bit more quality, but volume is key. You can stuff everything in and try to PR, or you can spread things out and let your body absorb them. And my biggest recommendation is make sure that the aerobic days, so your non-quality days, are comfy and chatty so you can absorb what's going on. And when I've done that in my training of like get volume in and different stuff like that, that's where I've made big gains in big jumps in that way. So anyway, I'll hang out for like another minute, like another couple minutes if people have questions. And Drew, how you been, buddy? I still owe you that email. I got it mocked up, so I gotta do that for you. Well, Christy, have a happy birthday tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the day. I hope it doesn't snow in North Dakota. I appreciate it. We'll just say, Christy, when you jump on it, there's a lot of action that's happening. But when you're not here, there's a few people holding it down, asking good questions. So should be a golf day. Yes. Oh, Andrew, I know you emailed me that, but I appreciate hearing that it's changed your style. Hopefully you're enjoying stuff more. You're feeling a little less tired, and you pick those quality days. I bet you feel, yeah. Okay, I'm happy to hear that. It's the hardest thing to get through, people, is that the aerobic days. Like, people are like, I feel like I'm doing nothing, because if it doesn't like kill me, it's like, it makes me stronger, and that's the wrong way to think about it. To me, if we look at the aerobic days as building infrastructure, like mitochondria, think of those as like energy, like generation centers, along the grid, even though it's not electrical in the body. And then that capillary bed, dense or growth, so that's like building more roads deeper into the forest. And so we do all that, then everything else gets way better. We can handle more lactate, we can buffer it, tolerate better, all those things. Yes, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Sure in the hell is. We want as many of those mofos as we can. Hey, wait, Christy, I'm going to top off this glass for you. Have a happy birthday. And yeah, I'm going to crash out. It's late. I got to bring the garbage out because they come so early. So have a happy birthday, Christy. Appreciate you all for hanging out here. If you're watching this later and you made it this far, DM me, put a comment. I'm curious about what people's big takeaways are from the marathon, what scares you about the marathon, what excites you about it. And I think that'll be it for me talking with runner. What's up, Sean? With running for a little bit. It's cycling season, and I have quite a few cyclists on here, and I need to talk about cycling and triathlon. You runners take up all my time. No, I'm kidding. Love you guys. All right. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Later.